Hey guys and girls, today I want to show you more a bit of a procedural or instrumental kind of instructional video. On the last video I told you how to take off from a, let's say, flying point of view, focusing on the flying itself. On this video I want to show you how to install an SID, Standard Instrumental Departure, onto the FMC and how to fly it and how to configure your navigation display, your EFIS, as for the way I like to do it for flying a standard departure. And the airport I'm choosing today for flying out of is Tenerife North. It's not only my home airport. Probably that's the main reason. It's my home airport. Everybody would be using his home airport for recording his videos, but it's not only my home airport, it's also a very good airport. It's got a very long runway, nice and long for any kind of aircraft, 777, 747. It's got a lot of procedures to fly in and out of, instrumental procedures, SIDs, stars. It's got a ILS approaches on both runways, VOR approaches on both runways, and on top of that it's on an island. And the weather around the airport is quite interesting. So if you remember, this is the airport in which the two 747s collided in 1977. Biggest aircraft accident in history. So that's sad, but one of the reasons for that crash was the low visibility built up in very little time. And in 10 minutes, half an hour, in 1 hour, it went from K4K, from clear skies, to zero visibility practically. And this happens a lot in this airport, so it's kind of an interesting airport to fly in and out of. But again, the most important reason, my home airport. Just get over it with it. So what I'm gonna do is quickly install the route into the FMC. I'm flying my preferred route, Tenerife North to Madrid. So Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar, that's the ICAO identifier for Tenerife North, and I'm flying Tenerife North to Madrid, Lima Echo Mike Delta. So FMC, reference airport. You don't really need to do it because the IRS already aligned, and I don't need to input the inertial position, but it's just my habit. I just do it. You don't have to do it, okay? Route Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar to Lima Echo Mike Delta. Okay, now my first waypoint on the route is Vasto, Victor Alpha Sierra Tango Oscar. I created this route myself using SkyVector, but you can use en route charts. You can use already existing routes and grab those from FlightAware. Anyway, this is not a video on flight planning and how to build up your routes. If you want to, you should probably check Kyle Rogers' video, which is an excellent starting point for route planning. But in this here, for this particular flight, I'm going to fly to Vasto. This is where my en route segment of the flight begins. Okay, and to Vasto I'm going to fly using a standard instrument departure, and that's what I'm going to focus on this video. So Vasto, then it's uniform. Let me check my route very quick. Uniform November 858 up to a waypoint called Barca, Papa Alpha Romeo Kilo Alpha, and then it's I'm going to be using the airway Uniform Zulu 165 uniform. So this is a neat trick. You don't have to input Parka here. If you go and select your next airway, Uniform Zulu 165, he'll figure it out. He knows, these two airways intersect at Parka, and he'll put Parka in. You still have to verify you input the he does get the correct waypoint, because sometimes airways intersect themselves several times, so you have to be careful, but in this case it went okay. And from there to Sotuk, and on Sotuk is where the arrival into Madrid starts. So pretty easy route. Now what I like to do is go to navigation display, select the plan mode, scale it up all the way, and go to the legs page on FMC and verify the route and verify it makes sense. Okay, so it's not the first time actually you do this in real life. It's also good practice to verify your route, that the route actually makes sense. So you go, and this looks nice, okay to me. You see Lima Echo Mike Delta, and it's basically a straight line, more or less straight line. So there is no, it didn't pick up any waypoint which is I don't know, 3,000 nautical miles off route. So it's nice to, it's good practice to verify your route here. So once you've verified the route is correct and there are no errors, you let's put it back to map mode, scale it down, activate it, and execute it. Okay, you execute your route. I'm going to performance initialization. This is very quick, 185 tons today, 54 tons of fuel, reserve, say 10 tons, I like 10 tons, nice and round. So cruise altitude, this flight is mainly northern, northeast, so you're flying to the east, and many people have the rule that if you're flying east, it's always an odd level, and that's only a rule of thumb. Okay, so this here is my mini rad. I notice many people on IVAO flying out of the Canary Islands, actually in the Canary Islands airspace, and in Spain, over Spanish airspace, you fly the other way around. So you choose odd flight levels flying east, and even flight levels flying west. Okay, it actually depends on the airway itself. So whenever you don't know whether you're flying, you have to, so the odd even is only a rule of thumb. You have to make sure your airway actually, you have to make sure what whether it's an even or an odd flight level for your specific direction of flight. Okay, in this case it's let me go ahead and put 340 as an initial guess. This is my guess. Now next I'm going to go to VNAV and check the optimal. Let's see if I'm too off. For thrust limitation, I'm using, let's say I'm going to use a 50 degrees assumed temperature. This, how do you actually select these derated temperatures? It's a full science on its own. It's a complicated topic. Mainly 50 degrees works well most of the times, but I'm not going to get into how you compute this value. Okay, so if you don't know, just either you leave it blank or use a value you can. 50 degrees usually works well for me. If you're taking off on maximum takeoff weight, maybe you don't want any takeoff derate. If the runway is wet, you don't use any derates. So there's a whole list of situations on which you don't use takeoff derates, takeoff thrust derates, or assumed temperatures, or both. But today I'm going to use this one, class 50. Takeoff, flaps 5, center of gravity 35.4, and this gives us a trim of 225. Now he won't give us any V speeds yet because he's asking for a departure, and also we don't know, we haven't still checked the weather, so I'm going to go ahead and checked on ActiveSky the ATIS information of Tenerife North. So as you see, I'm monitoring both the left VHF and the right VHF. On the right VHF I have 122, which is ATIS information provided by ActiveSky Next, and if I put it onto the active frequency, that will jump and give me an kind of ActiveSky generated ATIS. Let's hear it.
Golf, Charlie, X-ray, Oscar, airport information, Charlie, 1200, Zulu, weather, wind, 305, at 16, visibility, 10, sky condition, ceiling, 2000, broken, temperature, 16, dew point, 10, QNH, 1018, advise on initial contact that you have information, Charlie, Golf, Charlie, X-ray, Oscar, airport information, Charlie, 1200, Zulu, weather, wind, 305, at 16, visibility, 10, sky condition, ceiling, 2000, broken, temperature, 16, dew point, 10, QNH, 1.
So as you can see, I made several inputs onto the FMC. I inputted the wind direction 305 at 16 knots, the reference temperature 16 degrees Celsius, and the QNH is 1018. You put that on your PFD and on your standby instrument as well. 1018. There it is. If on the FO side as well, did it automatically. 1018. Now I'm going to go ahead and input the departure. So I go to the departures page, Golf Charlie X-ray Oscar departures, select the runway, today it's runway 30. I look for my departure, which is the VASTO VASTO 4 Juliet departure, right there. No transition or anything. And the same as the route, the same thing I did, I'm going to Lex page and I'm going to verify the route makes sense to me. Just climb on runway track to the Tango Fox November VOR, this is it. 10 miles out, then turn right heading 030, intercept radial into Tango Fox November VOR, direct to Laris, direct to Sarai, direct to Vasto. So this is the standard departure. Looks fine to me, execute. Back to map mode, lowest scale, and you see the V speeds popped up. So I'm going to go ahead and input those. 143, 150, 155, 155 on the MCP, and that's it. So going back to the MCP, I'm going to be using flight path vectors today. I like it. VOR left, VOR right, terrain information. Turn the flight director on. You turn the flight director of the pilot flying first, and then the flight director of the pilot not flying. And it's also good practice to cycle them. After a flight, you cycle both of them off and on again. So runway heading here to 906. This is the initial climb altitude, flight level 70. On the FO side, traffic as well. Okay, so after what is a common problem on IVAO or on VATSIM or in flight simming in general is people they trust your FMC too much. So your FMC is a very capable machine. It's got a nice navigation database, but still you want to always verify the FMC procedure against the chart. So on the description of this video I've put two links, one for the standard departure out of Tenerife North And for the instrument approach ILS runway 30, we won't be doing an ILS on this video, but it's nice to have the ILS as well in mind in case you have to return back to the airport. So, but if you bring the chart up, the chart you can find on the link on the description of this video, and look for the VASTO for Juliet departure. You see that? Okay. So this is the first page is only a diagram, a map, and it outlines the flight path you're going to be flying. But it's also very important that you read the text. Not only watch the diagram, but read the text associated to it. So go to the fourth page. Okay, fourth page. Zoom in into the VASTO for Juliet departure on the right column, which is in English, and read that out loud. So it says, climb on runway heading up to the 10th DME Tango Fox November. Okay, that's your first piece of information. First piece of information is the Tango Fox November VOR. So let's go to on the FMC to the NAVRAD page. See, there are two VORs. The FMC automatically tuned the Lima Romeo Oscar VOR on both VHF receivers, VOR left and VOR right. But actually, if you read the description to the SID, you don't need the Lima Romeo Oscar VOR on this standard departure. If you quickly overread it, it says Tango Fox November, turn right to magnetic heading 030, intercept and follow radial 305, Tango Fox November direct to Tango Fox November, proceed on radial 081, direct to Laris, cross Laris at flight level 130 above, turn left to follow radial 039er Golf Delta Victor, that's another VOR, to direct Sarai, direct Basto. So you can see the only two VORs the standard departure is talking about are called Tango Fox November and Golf Delta Victor. So I'm going to go ahead and input this onto the pre-select. I'll select them there. I like to use the pre-select feature. It allows me to have them stored in case I'm using this on auto mode, but and the FMC tunes anything to a VOR I don't want. It allows me to quickly bring it down to the scratch pad and override the FMC. So first I am setting the VOR left to Tango Fox November, and you see Tango Fox November is here, it's already identified, and you see it here on the chart on the navigation display. There it is. And on the right receiver I'm going to input Golf Delta Victor, which is also a VOR we're gonna be using. You see Lima Romeo Oscar disappeared from the navigation display, and where's Golf Delta Victor? Let me put it on center mode. Golf Delta Victor is there. There you see this one. Okay. So let's look what this says. Climb on runway heading to the 10th DME Tango Fox November. So 10th DME Tango Fox November. I'm going to fix page. On the first page of the fix, there are 4 fixes you can input onto the FMC. 4 fixes. So the first one I like always to have the departure airport here. Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar. That's just my personal SOP. Okay. I think that in case, imagine the magenta line disappeared from the navigation display and the runway as well. There was any failure on the system. You still have the fix right there, Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar, to bring you back to the airport. So that's a habit of mine. So actually everything I'm doing here is most of what I'm doing here is a habit of mine. I think it's what I like to do. I think it works fine. If you'd like to do it another way, well, that's fine too, or not, depending on what you do. Anyway, I think what I do makes sense. If you think it doesn't, or you have a better idea, please tell me. I'm happy to hear it, and probably change my procedure as well. So if you read the text description, it's always talking about Tango Fox November radials. It talks about Golf Delta Victor radials, and the final, actually, all of this is leading you to VASTO. This is the VASTO departure. So what I like to do is, I said, on my first fix, input the airport. On the last fix page, I like to input the fix at which your SID ends. VASTO, that's it. This is where we are going to, Vasto. So let me show you the green circle. There you see Vasto right here. It is highlighted. And why do I like to do that? It's actually quite likely that after taking off ATC, normally this SIDs ends on a flight information region boundary, and it's quite common that you take off and you don't actually have to fly the procedure completely. ATC will give you a heading and then they tell fly direct Vasto, resume on navigation at Vasto, something like that. So I like to have Vasto highlighted here and my departure airport as well. So, and what do I use for pages 2 and 3? Well, for pages 2 and 3 I use the VORs I'm going to be using. Sometimes you're going to be flying very straightforward departures or RNAV departures. If you fly RNAV departures, you don't have to rely on VORs. But this is a standard SID, normal navigation kind of thing. You could fly this with a basic IFR aircraft. So that's one of the reasons I like this airport, because the departures are not RNAV, random navigation. You can fly this with a Cessna 152 instrument rated. So on the second page of fix, I use my Tango Fox November VOR. There it is. I'm going to go and input the 10th DME circle around the airport. So if you see, there is a magenta Tango Fox November 10. That's the FMC put that in with the standard departure, and what it's telling me is I'm going to be flying on runway heading, and when I hit the 10th DME of Tango Fox November, I'm going to turn right. That's what the departure is calling for. But I like to have the circle around the 10th DME on the fix page. So which radials are we going to be using? Now I'm going to navrat, and going back to the description, turn right to magnetic heading 030, intercept and follow radial 305. 305. So we are going to fly radial 305 inbound Tango Fox November, and when you're flying inbound a VOR, you have to add or subtract 180 degrees. In this case 305 minus 180 is 125. So I put the 125 course here. Now you see he draw me a nice 125 305. You see it says 305. That's the 305 radial inbound, the VOR, and inbound means we are going to be flying on course 125. Okay. So as you can see, the magenta line coincides with the 125 radial, 305 radial, which I put onto the navigation radio page. And now I'm gonna be leaving Tango Fox November on radial 081. So since I can only turn one radial at a time, I'm going to go back to fixed page, Tango Fox November. Where is it? Tango Fox November here, and input the 081, and there you see it, draw it on the navigation display nicely. And again, the magenta line precisely coincides with the radial, so everything looks fine. The FMC did a fine job in selecting this approach. It doesn't end there. You're going to be flying that radial 081, proceed on radial 081 Tango Fox November direct to cross Laris, turn left to follow radial 039er Golf Delta Victor. So essentially I'm going to be flying outbound on radial 081 until Laris, and at this point I'm going to be intercepting radial 039 out of Golf Delta Victor. So let's draw that as well. Might be a good idea to draw it as well. Going back to navigation radial, Golf Delta Victor here, and radial 039. let's see if I do 039, there it is. So it didn't draw it, probably because he isn't receiving the VOR yet. You see, VOR, the Golf Delta Victor isn't identified yet. When we get airborne, we'll identify it and he'll draw the radial. But you can still go to fixed page and have it drawn there. Tango Fox November, Golf Delta Victor, VOR. Select your VOR. There. You use the bearing 039. There it is. So you see? That's it. So imagine the magenta line disappeared out of your navigation display. You'd still be able to fly the procedure because you've been smart and you've installed it yourself using your aids into the navigation display. So you're gonna be flying on. Imagine the magenta line disappeared. You fly runway heading 10th DME, turn right, intercept this radial into Tango Fox November VOR, and then the 081 radial all the way out until intercepting the Golf Delta Victor radial out direct to Vasto. Okay? So that's for the lateral part of the standard departure. There is also vertical instructions as of altitudes you want to keep. So let's go to the legs page, and if you read the text description, it said Crosslar is at flight level 130 above, that's here, 130 above, 13,000 feet. It's saying 13,000 not flight level because I didn't set up the transition altitude. Let's set it up now. And it says initial ATC clearance, maintain flight level 70 and wait for further clearance. Note, due to restrictions to DAVOR, DME, Golf Delta Victor, and once coverage is not sufficient below flight level 150, radar vectoring will be provided. So this is telling you if the Golf Delta Victor hasn't a good coverage, they will give you vectors. Okay? The ATC will vector you. So we are going to input the initial flight level 70 is here on the MCP, 7,000 feet. Altitudes and flight levels are not the same, but if you go to VNAV, say transition altitude, then this you can read it on the chart itself. Transition altitude out of Tenerife is 6,000 feet. That's a standard for Spain, 6,000 feet. Now you go to descent page, forecast, and input transition level here. Transition level in Tenerife is usually 870. So I'm going to put transition flight level 70. Okay, so that's basically everything there is for the instrument departure. Now, in case anything happened and you wanted to fly back into the airport after departure, it's a good idea to have the ILS tuned as well. So navigation radios on the ILS, and go ahead and input the ILS for the runway 30, which was 110.3, inbound course 2907. It's a good idea to have it there. You see it's identified India Tango Foxtrot 2906. There it is. And as of the ADF we won't be using it on the chat, but still there is an ADF you can tune, which is Foxtrot Papa, and its frequency is 420. I put it that there, 420 on the left and on the right. I won't be using the navigation display. This is the passenger version of the 777. The cargo version doesn't even have ADF receivers, so that's not bad. If you forget about the ADF completely, no biggie, no problem. Okay. So another thing you might want to do if you're flying, if you have a departure alternate other than your departure airport, say you take off and for any reason, if you had a problem during takeoff, you wouldn't return to your original departure airport, you had a departure alternate, you can fill in a second route. The right page here, this is the active route, you say active route. But you can fill in a second route. That's filling in a second route, so that way you have that route filled, and in case anything happened, the only change you'd had to do is go to the Route 2 and activate and execute that, and don't be messing around with Route 1 and changing everything. Okay? So this is a good idea. I'm not going to do that because I want to get on and fly, but just this is something you do if you hate a departure alternate, or even you don't have to have even if you want to come back to the airport again, you can have a like this: Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar, Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar, something like that. Set a Tango Fox November VOR. That's Route 2, and then click hold on Tango Fox November. Imagine you'd set up a hold as your second route, and the standard hold over Tango Fox November is 176 inbound and a left turn. 178 and a left turn. So you see on the navigation display, you see a dashed blue line. We remove terrain so you see it better. That's the alternate route, not the active one. You see Route 2 hold. So be careful, don't change your active Route 1. Back to the route page, and that way you have this stored here. In case you had anything wrong, you could just you wouldn't fly direct to Tango Fox November, and you fly 10th DME direct Tango Fox November and entry this hold over there, and once you're holding, you decide what to do next. Okay, so let's go back to Route 1. See the dashed blue line disappeared from here. This is our Route 1. And reference. Acceleration height is 1000 feet today. That's standard. I like using 1500 feet. Gives me more room. And the pilot flying usually has the takeoff reference page open over here. The pilot not flying or monitoring uses the legs page to be able to do changes. So I like to do it like this: auto brake RTO, approach mode on the standard, standby instruments. So let's go ahead and arm LNAV, VNAV, check the landing lights, run return off lights. I like to turn everything on, like a Christmas tree, taxi, strobe, logo, wing, cycle the seatbelt sign, and everything's good to go. No anti-eye is required today. So let's do the checklist. Don't we love checklists? Flaps. Of course you want to set flaps 5 for departure. Flaps 5. Trim is 2.25. There. Pre-flight oxygen. Let's check the oxygen. This is kind of a neat trick. Oxygen checked. Flight instrument is checked. Fuel control switches. Well, this doesn't make sense. The engines are running. Before start, flight deck door closed. MCP V2 155 heading 2906. Initial altitude 7000. Flight level 70. Takeoff speeds are visible: V1 143, V2 VR 150, V2 155. CDU pre-flight completed. Trim 2.25, 0 and 0. So aileron trim, you check it here: 0, 0 for the route trim, and 2.25 stabilizer trim. Taxi and takeoff briefing is completed. B for taxi, anti-ice not needed, recall. Let's recall. Recall checked and clear. Auto brake RTO flight controls. Let's just check the flight controls. Flight controls, full left, full right, elevator full down, full up, rather full left, full right, neutral. Flight controls are before taxi, flight controls checked and the equipment should be clear by now. B for takeoff, flaps 5 set. I don't know what, this is going back to pre-flight, after takeoff. Uncheck that and silence it. Back to terrain mode. So I'm going to use the plan mode on the FO side. There's no FO, so he won't mind. Like using the plan mode. So you can see, this is what you would see on the chart. Everything's set. Transponder is on. And we are good to go. So, let's release the brake, start the clock. Takeoff, 55% N1, cabin's ready. Takeoff go around. Thrust hold.
V1. Rotate.
Positive rate, gear up. Climb thrust, FMC you see LNAV. Acceleration height, we'll start lowering the nose. Can go for flaps 1. Flaps up, engage the autopilot. See speed 250. 250 is below, I always forget this. 250 below flight level 150, the Canary Islands. (6,000 feet standard). So he's going to stop at flight level 70. Let's let him stop. Look out of the cockpit. So and now you see we are a 10th DME of Tango Fox November right there. You see it here, and he's gonna start turning, heading 030. To intercept and follow this radial 305 inbound Tango Fox November. So let's go the after takeoff checklist. After takeoff, landing gear is up and flaps are up. So let's identify the VOR. That's it. That's the Morse code for Tango Fox November VOR. Good to go. And if I go to the VOR mode, I always like to do this. You see the radial. The aircraft is intercepting radial 305 or 125, course 125 inbound, Tango Fox November VOR. So let's say ATC clears us now. Fly flight level 160. So it's nice to always check your navigation with raw data. Something I like to do. As you can see, established on the radial 305. Flying the approach as published by the book. (10,000 feet). Let's go ahead and turn off the lights. On return of light, taxi, strobe, logo, and wait. No. Until the strobe. So the only thing you leave on is the beacon light, navigation light, and the strobe light. And let's free the passengers. So we are getting into Tango Fox November VOR, and now we are going to be turning right, correction left, to intercept and follow radial 081. So I'm going to navigation radial and put 081 here. Show how this updates. 081, you see it changed. Climb. Final flight level 320. There you see. From. And once we pass flight level 150, this restriction is going to be cleared. See, 150, he's clearing the restriction now. See, restriction is cleared. I'm still flying on flight level change, but I'm going to increase the speed to 315 economy climb speed, and he's going to climb. Which match your heading back with your actual heading. You see, we are now completely established on radial 081 outbound. This here is Golf Delta Victor VOR. So I'm going to fly this on this radial for the next 80 miles, more or less, 68 miles, direct to Laris, And when I arrive at Laris, I'm going to intercept radial 039er outbound, direction Vasto. And Golf Delta Victor is identified. You can go change this to our left and identified. Golf Delta Victor Morse code. There it is. Let's check our optimum flight level. Recommended 360. So let's call ATC and ask for flight level 360, and they will clear us flight level 360. Enter that there. Flight level 360. Change to VNAV. VNAV handle it. So that's it. I'm not going to be flying all the way over to Vasto, but I think you get the main idea. It's cross-checking your FMC against the chart. That's the main point on this video. Always read the chart, but read all the text description on the SID, and all of the basic information you need for flying your SID. Whereas as in radials you need to be flying, radio stations you have to be tuning. Always tune that into your so you see, if I hadn't done anything, the FMC automatically tuned other nav aids. He tuned a VOR I wouldn't even be using on this departure. So tune the VORs you need to use for the departure. Set your fix page. This fix page is very useful to show the radials you have to fly, or the DME arcs you have to fly. So in case the magenta line disappears, you still have your SID, your standard departure, depicted on the navigation display. Okay? So that's everything there is today, and hope you liked it. Bye bye.